the depth chart has been released. Is there anything that jumped out to you in regards to any surprises, anything significant?
Well, what jumped out, I mean, I had my eyes set on cornerback. I just thought it was an odd, and I don't have any insider information on John Nestor, but that was one of the positions that I was going to be looking at specifically, especially without Gronowski available. Certainly, quarterback would be at the top, but without Gronowski available, um, TJ Hall, either TJ Hall or Deshaun Lee have to step up this spring because I really don't know. Kirk commented on this yesterday that he's going to be excited to see what those guys can do and how they can compete. So he said the same thing about linebacker, so that'd be another one. He complimented Jaden Harrell, but it's sort of it's what's the old phrase? It's sort of what's the phrase I'm looking for, Mark? Where it's on paper like you'd expect it to be on paper. There's a phrase that I can't think of, but anyways. I could have made the depth chart just as well as I think Kirk could have yesterday. So why did we just jump from 40 people to 111? Did we just start simulcasting?
Because you showed up.
Yeah, it sure was.
We jumped from 40 to 111. No. I know what you're looking at. You were looking at how many people were watching on YouTube, and this is a conglomeration of a number of places.
Got it. Okay.
Something like that.
But yeah, I would say I can, if you don't have the depth chart, I can certainly pull it up, Mark. But I would say corner is the position now with the John Nestor news that I'll probably be following closest on defense. And then on offense, without having Gronowski, I'm not really that intrigued with running back because I kind of think we know what Iowa's got there with Jazz and with Kamari. Receivers, obviously an interesting one. The problem is, how well do you evaluate that position without good quarterback play? So hopefully Brendan Sullivan can really perform well this spring and at the very minimum help the receivers along. Tight end's going to look different without Luke Lachey, but we didn't see a lot of tight end involvement last year. And then we've been talking about the O-line with the return of Logan Jones and Jennings, Dunker, et cetera. So I'd probably still go wide receiver on offense and then corner on D.
It's interesting with this John Nestor decision to go into the transfer portal because as soon as I saw that, I thought, well, I got to go right to Corey and see what the deal is because I thought at one point he was a high riser on this roster. I thought that he was a guy that was expected to become a pretty prominent player.
Well, he was the youngest of the group. I mean, TJ Hall's technically going to be a senior. Now, I have to go back and look at his eligibility. I was thinking he had another year left of eligibility. He's a fourth year, technically a redshirt junior. I believe the depth chart actually lists him as a senior. So, I mean, yeah, and then after him, right now at the other position, it's Deshaun Lee, who's in his third year because he plays a freshman. So, yeah, Nestor would have had 3 years in front of him. I've heard some good scuttle on Rashad Godfrey, who I believe made his first appearance of his young career. He is of no relation to Charles Godfrey. He's been asked that question before, but it's not a real common last name. But heard good things about him. And honestly, when he got here, I thought size-wise, I mean, just how he's made up. I believe he's 6 foot or taller. And he's got some girth to him. I think he's listed at 195. So comparison, TJ Hall's 6'1", but 187. And Rashad's entering his second year. I kind of thought he was built more like a safety. But he's listed right now as a corner. And, hey, more the merrier at that position. And we always talk about the injury woes they seem to have at corner year after year. So you got a couple of young guys who are very unproven in Jalen Watson and Rashad Godfrey, and then 2 guys who have been on the field but have not blown away expectations in TJ Hall and Deshaun Lee. So Nestor leaving, there has to be something else going on there. No surprises that you have your 2 defensive ends, Max Llewellyn, Ethan Hurkett. We all know Deontay Craig is gone, so that will hurt them on the outside. But I really like Llewellyn. To me, he's the guy that if he develops to where I believe his ceiling is, he could end up being a, first or second team All Big Ten type of guy. on the edge, and Iowa hasn't had one of those in a while. So his development's going to be intriguing to say the least. And then a couple of young guys behind them. Joseph Anderson was a freshman last year. Kenneth Merriweather's in his third year, but is very green. He was a receiver in high school. So, certainly Iowa's going to always be young in their two spots and their three spots because they're a developmental program. So it's always going to be intriguing to see who jumps into those spots, not only heading into spring, but out of spring and then into fall camp. So those are positions to follow. But Iowa's pretty, I'd say on track with development for starters because you have those two guys who have played a lot of football. Jeremiah Pittman's played a lot of football. Is listed as your right defensive tackle. Then Aaron Graves, Will Hubert, and Luke Gaffney behind those guys. Where they're not experienced at the top is at linebacker, but we've been hearing Seth Wallace and this staff tout the depth they have at that position for so long. The problem is, I shouldn't say the problem, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. They've been so healthy there for the most part with Nick Jackson and Jay Higgins. And before that, it was Jack Campbell and Seth Benson that we haven't really had to see the other guys. So, Jaden Harrell, Jaden Montgomery he's in his fourth year, has never seen the field. He's stuck around. He's a guy I've tinkered with the idea of maybe he enters the portal at some point. He has not. So he is on the depth chart. And then, Jackson Rexroth, I think he may have gotten a scholarship. He's a former walk-on. Derek Weisskopf, a young freshman, a redshirt freshman who was a 4-star last year. And then Carson Shire and Landon Van Kekerix. Shire is a kid who just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And if he's healthy, I think he's probably their best linebacker. Iowa may be the most vanilla of anybody in the conference, just given who the head coach is. So that for anybody new to the show, I'm not trying to overstate what's listed on the depth chart, but I think most pre-spring depth charts are pretty vanilla. But Iowa's probably at the top of those. And I did miss one other position, I believe, and that's safety. Cohen Entringer's back. Xavier Wampa's back. The one guy they lose who had tons of experience, Quinn Schulte, and obviously Castro is a cash guy, but they get Cohen Entringer back, who will be running a lot at cash. And what am I saying again, Minnie? What am I saying?
am guessing that she is alluding to coaches typically being conservative, because
gotcha.
I think even if the coaching staff has an idea that somebody's going to get unseated by maybe a younger player, they don't want to throw that on a depth chart in the spring.
Yeah, right.
No reason to do that.
Like I said, I think that's the case even for pre-fall last year with Nestor being the starter. If anything, and I don't know that Kirk is not a big rah motivational guy with the media, with depth chart releases, but like if anything, list a young guy on the depth chart ahead of some veterans pre-spring, pre-fall to motivate those older players. If you feel like those older players have kind of lagged behind a bit in intensity and fire, that's maybe a way you can motivate some guys. I guess the other thing, the one thing I didn't mention about things to watch throughout spring, and we've been talking about spring for a few weeks now, is with Omar Young, what looks different, if anything, at running back? I mean, I don't know what we'll be able to say or see